Have you ever thought why or what's the reason for depopulation? The answer may surprise you. You may ask yourself why would a God, specifically a Christian God, will allow so much evil and destruction to his creation on earth? Why would he not intervene? Maybe because he's the one that gave the order to depopulate. This side of human history has a disappointing ending. This book was handed to me and it tells a completely different story of Adam and Eve. I'm 7 chapters in, but chapter 4 gives great details of one possibility of the human plight. The Gods of Eden, published in 1993, 14 years of research. This book confirms so many videos I have posted over the years, which makes me prone to accept this story more than what we've been told. Most of us heard the story of the Anunnaki coming to Earth and created man. According to this book, that may have been an upgrade from the first creation hundreds of thousands of years ago. It was to my understanding from prior knowledge that there were multiple Adam and Eves at several locations across the globe, which could explain the mystery of how a totally different group of people across vast oceans possessed the Egyptian knowledge. Also how Cain met his wife after he was banished. Why was the Cain and Abel story so significant? Probably because it was the first on record anyway that a slave killed one of their own, and a sibling at that. Most of us all know the story of the Anunnaki, aka Sumerians, according to chapter 4, created a slave race to bear the labor of resource excavation from the planet. The book also hinted to Earth being the property of an extraterrestrial origin that may have changed hands of ownership or lost due to conflict of the Anunnaki without the public being aware of it. The previous owners may have occupied the planet before human beings ever existed. These Sumerian gods felt it was too much backbreaking work extracting minerals from the earth. One Mesopotamian tablet states, "When the gods like men bore the work and suffered the toil of the gods were great, the work was heavy, the distress was much." Gods, huh? The gods were complaining of the endless labor that had sparked a rebellion against their leaders. A solution was needed, and it was found to create a new creature to perform the same labor as the gods. Through trial and errors, which may explain the many strange creatures embedded in Egyptian history, eventually man was created. Mesopotamian tablets tells a creation story in which a god is put to death by other gods and the body and blood is mixed into clay, and out of this concoction a human being is made. The new earth creature is very similar in appearance to its creators. Is the human race collectively the personality of this fallen god? Also, this is around the time the disappearance of the Neanderthal, according to the book, may have been moved or exterminated to prevent interbreeding with the new slave race. The tablets credited one god in particular with supervising the genetic manufacture of Homo sapiens. That god goes by the title Enki, Prince of Earth, who was reported to be the son of a king who was said to rule another planet. It is said that Enki lost his dominion over major portions of Earth to his half-brother Enlil. Enki was very proud of his creation that he became an advocate and spoke on their behalf on the new race. He opposed many of the cruelties other gods inflicted on the human race, specifically his half-brother Enlil. Enki's wishes against cruelty was overruled by the other gods. The process of human creation was that it needed a spirit to be permanently attached to animate the body. According to the book, the gods may have used criminals, deviants, prisoners of war, nonconformists, and other undesirables to obtain the spirit beings it needed to animate the new slave race of Earth. That could explain a lot of sick personalities in this world. And as the beast of burden, humans were brutally treated by their extraterrestrial masters. The tablets tells of a vast and catastrophic cruelty perpetrated by the gods against their human servant. Cold-blooded population control measures were carried out frequently. I'm going to repeat that. Cold-blooded population control measures were carried out frequently. Over time, when giants were roaming the earth, a product of coochie snatching of the humans by the gods, the noise became unbearable to Enlil, who approached the council to complain that he is being deprived of sleep. Gods need sleep and food too. Interesting. They are not gods. Enlil's solution was to cut off supplies for the people, stop the rain, block the sun with thick clouds, and let the fields diminish their yields. Sounds familiar. Let there be disease, sickness, plague, and pestilence. Starvation became so rampant that human beings were forced to resort to cannibalism. Sounds familiar? I'm sure the giants had a huge part in that. When this genocide did not produce a sufficient drop in the human population, eventually a decision was made to destroy the human race entirely with a great flood. Enki, who opposed the decision to destroy his creation, approached the Babylonian name, and I cannot pronounce his name, I'll just print it up, and told him that the other gods were planning a deluge to wipe out the human race. Enki gave, here's that name again. Enki gave this man instructions on how to build a boat which can survive the flood. This man then loaded the boat with his family, his gold, and livestock, along with craftsmen and some wild animals, and hoisted off to sea. It says nothing about two of every animal species, which is a bullshit story in the first place. Yes, this is the origin of the Noah story. The gods caused long rainstorms and breaking the intricate system of dams and dikes that were built prior. Now let's go back in time before Noah to the creation of Adam and Eve. The Old Testament tells us that Adam was designed to be a servant. His function was to till the soil and care for the lush gardens crops owned by his master. As long as Adam and Eve accepted their servant status and obeyed their ever-present masters, all of their physical needs would be met. I guess they go along with the saying, ask and ye shall receive, and they would be permitted to remain in their paradise indefinitely. However, there was one unpardonable sin that they must never commit. They must never attempt to seek certain types of knowledge. That would be the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. The latter one symbolizes the knowledge of how to retain one's spiritual identity and immortality. Adam and Eve obeyed the commandments of their masters and lived in material bliss. That's until you-know-who made his appearance, symbolized as a snake. The snake convinced Eve to partake of the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, as did Adam. The gods became immediately alarmed. The gods wanted slaves. It is difficult to maintain great power over people who maintain their integrity and sense of ethics. It becomes impossible for people to be moved by physical threats due to a reawakened grasp of their spiritual immortality. According to the book, if spiritual beings could no longer be trapped in human bodies, but instead use and abandon bodies at will, there will be no spiritual beings available to animate the slave bodies. Early man's attempt to escape their spiritual bondage by eating from the biblical trees therefore had to be stopped and fast. According to the book, after Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge, immediately became ashamed of their nakedness. It wasn't the nakedness that they were ashamed of, it was what it represented. Ancient Mesopotamian records depict human beings being stark naked when performing tasks for their masters. The gods, on the other hand, were depicted as being fully clothed. The implication is that Adam and Eve felt degraded by their nakedness because it was a sign of their enslavement. This will later cause slaves to band together and rebel against their masters. Sounds familiar? This made human unity undesirable to Earth's rulers. It was better that humans be disunited, which spawned the story of the Tower of Babel. It is also believed that the obelisk was copies of rockets that the humans imitated to be like the gods. After the Tower of Babel, it is stated that ancient human society had been split apart thousands of years ago in a divide and conquer efforts by flying extraterrestrials. Humans were treated as livestock and were frequently butchered when they became too numerous and troublesome. Human beings were scattered geographically into different linguistic groups, and conditions were created to make physical survival on Earth an all-consuming chore from birth to death. How does a snake fit into this grand story of creation? I'm glad you asked. Ready to have your mind blown? The serpent was said to be God's enemy, Satan, who had literally transformed himself into a reptile, but this was all symbolic. The snake was a symbol of a group that called themselves the Brotherhood of the Snake, or the Brotherhood of the Serpent. Is it starting to make sense now of all the snake symbols all over the globe? Enki, aka Satan, was associated with this group opposed the enslavement of spiritual being, and according to Egyptian writings, it sought to liberate the human race from God's bondage. Now, before you think I'm spewing blasphemy, think about it. What sin did the symbolic snake actually do to be punished to earth? He, Enki, was telling the humans that they are more than just slaves and tried to free them from their spiritual bondage. It was his creation, so we were actually created by the so-called devil. The other guys, infuriated by this act, demonized the snake in the Brotherhood, which is why today the snake only represents negative aspect. Enki was banished to Earth and was extensively villainized to ensure that he could never again secure a widespread following among the human beings. Enki's title was changed from Prince of Earth to Prince of Darkness. He was labeled Satan, the Devil, Evil Incarnate, Monarch of Hell, Lord of Vermin, Prince of Liars, and more. According to the book, by reportedly creating the work race and the Brotherhood of the Snake, the god Enki had helped build a trap for billions of spiritual beings on Earth, Soul Trap. The Brotherhood of the Snake has been the world's most effective tool for preserving mankind's status as a spiritually ignorant creature to toil throughout all of history. Going back to the question at the beginning of this video, who ordered the depopulation of the human race? It was our creators. Now you should understand why the Christian God, or any God, would allow for his creation to endure so much corruption, so much disease, so much evil, so much pain, and on top of that allow others to edit his work on the human genome with today's gene editing techniques like the original wasn't good enough. This is an ongoing experimentation of human control. Because we are property, we was created as a slave race. They could do anything they want to us. We was and still is an experiment. I talked about this before. Which is why we keep having a recycle of human depopulation. It was intended for us to never reach spiritual freedom and cut future rebellion of human slaves. Soul Trap. Speaking of freedom, random thought, since the genetically modified humans are now patented property, if one was to get killed by another human, would that be considered murder or property damage? It's gonna get real ugly in politics in the near future. Have you heard cemeteries are now emitting Bluetooth signals over some graves?
Beyond the grave, we find countless Bluetooth MAC addresses and intercept the packets of data emanating from the ground below. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Makes it kinda easy to locate loved ones, but that's just beyond creepy. If you are one of those that still think that God or Jesus is coming to save you from this imminent enslavement, then the brainwashing was very successful on you. Religion of all kinds is the enslavement of spiritual freedom. Ironic, right? Imminent enslavement is avoidable if we could get the masses to wake up in time. Wake up. This is the nail before the coffin moment. Don't let religion block your ability to critical thinking. Once you do that, you pretty much denounce your God-given ability and deserve to be a slave. God, in the Christian sense, don't have a religion. Remember that. All religions are man-made to keep you spiritually suppressed, and soon all those religions will combine into one. That will be your first sign that a banana is being placed in the tailpipe, because once that happens, the old rulers, probably on the moon, returns to control human population as they once did before. Are you offended by this video? Are you vaxxed? If the answer to both of those questions is yes, you're the reason we're in this situation. Compliance is not security. In fact, it's the opposite. Wake up. Thank you for listening to me. I hope this video gives you some clarification to what's really going on. All world leaders are working together and they're working against you. Everyone stay safe, and I'd like to personally thank everyone who support this channel. I really do appreciate it because I know who's listening and I understand your situation. You can always hit the like button, that works just as well. You and I are in the most danger. You want to spread the word faster? Start hitting the like button on everyone that's trying to get the word out. Not hitting the like button, knowing the danger, is compliance. Everyone have a great day. I'll talk to you real soon. Peace.
I haven't.
Eve,
Wow.
was that what I think it was?